Hi everyone, thanks for tuning in again. Just wanted to go through this week's headlines, and there have been some beauties. Out on Monday, US economist predicts housing prices in Australia could drop by as much as 60%. Now this is a gentleman who's using the house crash in Japan in the 1980s. This is a direct comparison for what he sees could potentially happen here in Australia. What I find funny though is on the same article that there are a number of local economists who are saying that the prediction is completely inaccurate, and it's just not possible that Australia could have a price drop of that level of 60%, and that it would take some significant changes or a catastrophic event for that to happen here in Australia. So that's good news, but what it does point out is that when you're reading these news headlines, that you should be educating yourself as opposed to believing everything you read. So that's great. An article that came out on Tuesday, headline, "Plenty of loose change keeps Aussie house prices resilient." This is a really interesting article, and the Reserve Bank of Australia back in 2007, they analysed the household income of Australians and compared that to the household income of the 1980s and looked at what level of discretionary spending we had left available to us. That took into account, of course, all your utility costs, your fuel, your shopping or your groceries, and all those day-to-day costs, the cost of education. And what they found in 2007 was that people were much better off than they were in the 1980s. Now the Reserve Bank stopped doing that research, but RP data picked it up again in 2011, and what they were doing, the key question that we're trying to address is, do households in 2011 have more or less disposable income after buying a home and paying off their mortgage than their predecessors? The outcome is contrary to the current myth that we're really doing it tough. What they found were today's households actually have more disposable income than any other point since our analysis began back in 1993. So it may not feel like it, but certainly we are lucky to be in a much better position than we were as far back as 93. So that's fantastic news. What else have we got here? The other headline, this is a ripper. While others tighten their purse strings, savvy investors are in buying. What that's saying is that although the marketplace and prices have certainly dropped and we're in a cycle that's very different to anything we've seen before, the savvy investors are out there buying. They're taking opportunities to buy in what we call a counter-cyclical time. So this is an event that we couldn't have predicted, and we're not sure how long it's going to last. But while most people are putting their pennies in their pocket, the savvy investors are out there buying and taking the opportunity to grab a home at prices that we just haven't seen before. And that's certainly the case right around the nation, and certainly happening here in Griffith. So the change in consumer sentiment is one of the reasons our property markets have slowed down. And this trend will put a lid on property price growth for the next few months, possibly years. But property markets haven't come to a halt. People are still moving house. They're getting married, they're having babies, they're changing jobs, they're getting divorced. And savvy investors are still buying properties. While fewer people are buying properties, it's reflecting in sales and sales prices and creating the best opportunity to buy at brilliant pricing. Now that's great. That should give you plenty of confidence to get out there and be buying. What they finish off with is saying, there's no denying that things are probably going to get worse before they get better. This is a time for cleaning up the excesses of the past and getting our financial houses in order to move on to the next stage of the economic cycle, which is a recovery stage. So if you're thinking about not buying a property at the moment, you're waiting for the market to see what happens, the chances are it's going to move forward as opposed to moving back. The other thing that was interesting in that article, that 48% of people surveyed intend to pull the purse strings back in the coming year, as opposed to only 10% who plan to spend more, and 42% who are happy to continue with their current level of spending. So there you go. While everybody else is out there sitting on the fence, there's a great chance to get in and buy well. And I think a great indication of that is, of course, there was a mortgagee sale in Simona Close 2 weeks ago, Nobody turned up to the auction. Can you believe that? Mortgagee sale, guaranteed opportunity to buy at a brilliant price. That's a 4-bedroom home with ensuite in a great North Griffith spot. It's now on the market asking $300,000. So we certainly encourage you to get out there and buy while everybody else is sitting on the fence, and you might find yourself in a position to get yourself a bargain that will set you up in the future, that you can use that equity and start investing. Hope this is helpful. A lot going on, including in the area news. Great article by Paul Clitheroe. So that's on the website and on Club Green. So check that out. Look forward to talking to you next week.